For those who are still alive that were part of PLAN, Pro-Life Action Network, tell our viewers what PLAN was, what we did.
Well, PLAN were the leaders around the country that would meet at some weird place, often out in the woods in a church somewhere. We would keep it secret to make it interesting to the media, and they would be flying planes all over, helicopters looking for our meetings. And we would plan our strategy for the coming year. And we would tell what had worked, the things that had worked, the actions that were most distressing to the abortionist. And they hated to have their homes picketed. They didn't want people to know where they lived, so we would find out where they lived and go picket their homes. They hated having these sit-ins, and so we started the sit-in, where we would sit down in front of the clinic and people couldn't get in. There were just 1,000 ideas that would come out of these planned meetings.
You remember Gary Lieber?
Yep.
From being, and you had a profound impact on him as well. And you said a line, I'm going to say it and see if you can remember the second half. You said a line that so caught him that he would quote it to me on a regular basis. I'll say the first half. Find out what irritates them.
And then do it.
And do only that.
Do only that.
Find out what irritates them and do only that.
Right.
And we did that. We took your cue. We started picketing abortionists at their home, finding out, following them to where they were staying in hotels. Had some pretty wild experiences, just shining the light on them to try and get them to quit.
And we went to their conventions.
Tell us the story about you and George Tiller the Killer. I had never heard this before.
Well, one night they were having a convention in New Orleans.
Now, was this the National Federation of Abortion Providers?
Right, right. NAF. They were having a convention in New Orleans, and I had some work in Chicago, so I got a very late flight out of Chicago and got into the New Orleans airport. At the same time, a young man from Wichita, Kansas was arriving. And there we were, the two of us. We had to get into New Orleans. And he introduced himself as George Tiller, Dr. George Tiller, and he was going to the National Abortion Federation Convention. So I said, oh, I'm going too, because I didn't tell him I was going as a spy. But we struck up a conversation. We rented a cab together. We drove into New Orleans and had a long, long conversation with him doing most of the talking. And I found out all kinds of things about his use of the real-time ultrasound to do abortions, how he was going to promote that.
What year was this?
You know, I'd love to tell you, but...
Early 80s?
It's early 80s.
All right, so when you say he was telling you about ultrasound, most people who are watching who have had children have seen ultrasounds.
Right.
It's such an exciting thing to see your baby boy, your baby girl for the first time on the screen. He was explaining to you that he was going to watch babies in real time while he killed them.
Right, to use the ultrasound for the abortion, to make certain that you got everything. He couldn't understand why it wasn't popularized, and he was going to make it popular. So we talked all the way into New Orleans. He stayed at a different hotel. I stayed where the convention was being held. And Andy Schulberg was also there. The next morning I came down and Andy was wearing a badge for the convention. So I said, how'd you do that? He said, I just went over and registered. They don't know who we are. So I went over, paid my $150 and registered for the convention and went to all of the conferences and the meals and the cocktail party and everything. And they couldn't throw us out. They tried. They got the hotel security. At the first meeting we were at, we're sitting in the front row with our notebooks out, and they tried to get us thrown out. Tried to encourage us to leave.
By then, how did they figure out that you were spies? Was this the meeting with the famous button?
No. Somebody recognized me, and they realized, I think Tiller possibly told them that that's Joe Scheidler. He shouldn't be in here. But they called the hotel security, and we weren't doing anything bad, so we stayed. And it was interesting because once they had accepted the fact that we were going to stay, they just went right ahead with their meetings. And we went to every meeting and to the banquet.
What did it feel like?
It was eerie, but we stayed way up in front. We took lots of notes, and we found out a lot of their secrets, a lot of their methods, because you know, they would have things. They always had to bring in some religious figure to justify what they did.